giving you so many tips and tricks in this series, I lost count. Hi friends, Tracy here from the Sewing Channel. Welcome back to the series, Cutting My Pretty Fabric. If you missed the first 5 videos in this series, no worries. I will put a link to the full playlist down in the comments below. I've taken you through all the processes of cutting my pretty fabric, from the beginning inspiration to the quilt pattern, how to attach some pretty borders, how to get that minky so there are no flurries and no stretching of the minky. Enough talking already. Let's get busy quilting this sandwich together. I've had a major mistake happen with this quilt since the last video. You all know I read the comments, right? One of the viewers asked me if I washed my flannel prior to fusing it with the Wonder Under and then to the minky. I said, no, I did not pre-wash it. She said, well, flannel shrinks terribly, which I know that. I wasn't thinking of that at all when I fused everything together. And she commented, good luck. And I was like scared after that. I was like, oh my word, I just fused all of this together and now it's going to shrink funny and it's going to make my minky all crazy looking. And this quilt, I put so much money and time into it. I was like, oh. So I ripped it all apart and took the flannel off. When I did that, of course, I ruined everything. So I had to go out and buy more flannel, more Wonder Under. I redid the whole process, but I did it with pre-washed flannel. If you are fusing the flannel to your minky like I did with the Wonder Under, make sure that you pre-wash it. Lay the quilt top on top of the flannel, the other side of it, and I just pinned. That's it, pin basted. It has stayed on really good. The flannel sort of attracts the cotton quilt top, so that really helps them stick together. I want to share with you the angle of my workstation when I free motion quilt. I have my Juki set up there, and then I also have something on the side of me here, something on the side of me here, like a table, or in this case over here, it's my ironing board on wheels. It just helps take the weight of the quilt on both sides as I'm working on it. Juki does turn on its side, which was one of the main reasons that I bought it. I never send my quilts out. I always free motion quilt them myself. I needed a good machine that was going to be able to give me some more room for free motion quilting. This one did not disappoint. All of the TL models of the Juki do turn on its side. They also have a side free motion quilting foot that you can purchase separately that helps you see what you're sewing, which is amazing. I also purchased this huge Juki acrylic insert for free motion quilting. If you want more info on this Juki right here or any of the items that I talk about in today's video, be sure to go down in the information box. Whenever you free motion quilt on your domestic sewing machine, you get a lot of heaviness on both sides and in front and in the back of your quilt. When you go to free motion quilt, it's called drag that you might get, and that's simply just you trying to push the quilt underneath the needle and it not coming like it should. And you're actually working harder to pull it toward you or toward underneath the needle, and then you'll get tinier stitches because it just throws everything off. I typically will set up a hook here in the front off to the right. All this is some twill tape connected onto one of those command hooks up there, and I hang it down so that it's just above the machine because you don't want to pull it up too high. You might have to gauge that for the size quilt that you have. And then over here I have this right here, which comes in pretty handy. It's to hang quilts on, but it's also anchored up there so good that I can hang something like this on there. Again, twill tape on one of these clamps tied on the end real tight, and you can get these anywhere. You probably have them. So that one is off to the left here. Position, wherever you're working on in your quilt. And for me, typically I need this when I'm in the middle because that's where I get the most drag. I will just take an end. I will simply just clamp it within there and just let it hang like that. So I've clamped it there and I've clamped it there. Since my pressing station has cloth on it, I did cover it in press and seal so that my quilt top will slide over that much easier. I also did add some of that press and seal over here just because I wasn't getting a good enough glide earlier, so that also helped. Minky actually will meet resistance on anything that you put it on because of the nap and just the way that it is. It doesn't want to glide over top of the acrylic. So the more safeguards that you take in trying to get that Minky to go underneath your needle, the better. So when you go to move from side to side, you can see that these are both going back and forth. Oh my word, so much easier to free motion quilt with Minky when you hang up both sides in the back. And even if it's not Minky, I wanted to do the design in every other block. I was meeting a resistance still with the Minky on top of the acrylic. I just cut out tiny pieces and put them in every other block that I wasn't free motion quilting in, so that way it just helped me glide even more. One other safeguard that I used when making this quilt was to take some of this press and seal and place it right on the front of me. Stretch a little bit, make sure that, it's not pulling weird or anything on you. You just want it to be natural. When I'm sitting down to free motion quilt, that Minky will not drag on my clothes. See that? Nice and fluid. I'm working on the top and bottom borders today. I'm just putting a bunch of free motion quilted roses all over my gingham borders. My free motion quilting gloves are simply just from the dollar store. They're just garden gloves that have these little dots on them, and they just help you get a grip. I'm going to start off in the edge so I don't have to worry about burying any threads or anything like that. Here are the roses that are all up at the top and the bottom border. Big ones, small ones, medium ones, just very organic. It's hard to see the white stitching. Here are the roses that go up both sides of this quilt. They're like climbing, and then you can see some of the swirls throughout the quilt. I hope you can get a good view of these roses. They really are pretty. I love the way that they turned out. The next step in the process of this quilt, get the sides and bottom trimmed up, figure out if I'm going to round the corners or not, and get my binding on. Then we should be finished. I'm still on the fence about that binding from the last video. I'm not sure I want to do polka dot now. I know, it's crazy. In the next and last video, I am going to reveal what I am going to name this quilt. So you will definitely want to stay tuned for that. Until next time on the Sewing Channel, take care.